Just how significant is it for Donald Trump to corrupt the gathering of data in this country? The Washington Post argues it is very significant. John Lanchester, writing on the Bureau of Labor Statistics, says this: the gathering of data exemplifies our ambition for a stable, coherent society. The United States is an Enlightenment project based on the supremacy of reason, on the idea that things can be empirically tested, that there are self-evident truths, that liberty, progress, and constitutional government walk arm in arm and together form the recipe for the ideal state. Statistics, numbers created by the state to help it understand itself and ultimately to govern itself, are not some side effect of that project, but a central part of what government is and does. Joining us now, Professor of Economics and Public Policy at the University of Michigan, Justin Wolfers, Tim Miller, and Jigla Hutt still with us. Justin, that is as a softball pitch to you, my friend. Take it away.
I mean, first of all, Katie, I feel for you, because who wants to be talking with a numbers nerd about statistics on a day like today? But the reality is that this stuff really matters. The numbers that the BLS produces, they're used by the Federal Reserve to guide interest rate policy. They're used by businesses to decide whether to open a new branch or where to open a new branch. They're used by folks like you and I trying to decide, if we lost our job, what's the best industry to move into. And the problem is, if you put a fabulist into that role of chief of statistics, this is really a ministry of truth moment. This is where we move from producing real truths and real facts about our economy to fantastical numbers. And already have heard Trump's nominee suggest that he might suspend collection or publication of the all-important employment data right at the point that the Trump tariffs are just about to hit. So you can see all the different ways in which our lives are going to change, and they're going to make sure that we can't track it. And that's what matters here.
It is so fundamental to us as Americans, but also to us as humans, to want to know what the best option is. I mean, that's why there are top 10 lists. That's why Wirecutter exists. It's why when you want to buy a new air conditioning unit, you go and you say, well, what does the Wirecutter say? What does New York Magazine say? What does, Good Housekeeping say? What is the best thing that I can get? And we as a country gathered that data to make decisions, as Justin said, for business, for economics, for making people's lives better, vaccines, et cetera. And we're losing that. And I wonder how the American public is going to react when they suddenly actually can't trust things and have one set of numbers, but then have a different experience.
I'm going to give you a dark answer to that, because this has been a long time coming. Right? Trump wants to deconstruct truth across a lot of variables. And it's not just Trump, right? With AI, we have a lot of new, images and movies now that are not real. And people want to be told what they want to hear. People want to be told good news. This is not a unique thing to Donald Trump, but he's been just particularly good at weaponizing it and deconstructing truth when it doesn't serve him. We saw that after the 2020 election. And so I think that the public will probably go along with it. The question is, why aren't business leaders pushing back on this more aggressively? I had Jason Calacanis, who's the Silicon Valley guy, on the pod this morning, and we're arguing about this. I was like, why aren't you guys up in arms? Why isn't the Wall Street Journal up in arms? Because
the Journal is up in arms mostly. I mean, their editorial page has been going after.
They have, but I guess I meant the leaders that are of the that read the Wall Street Journal.
Well, when they do come out, like when Goldman Sachs comes out and says something, Donald Trump says their chief economist should be fired.
Right. Yeah, it's all about association, too. That's the weird part. I mean, we've had people like, Jean Baudrillard was writing about this in the 80s of hyper-reality, the fact, we're not going to be able to really distinguish between truth and fiction. And, to Justin's point, I'm inclined to believe him as a real economist, but I could also say, well, as the son of a Michigan State alumna, go green. I'm not listening to Justin, and I want my own people giving me those stats. And that's what you hear Kevin Hassett and Scott Bessent all out there repeating.
There is a certain degree of, I'm going to find the numbers I like, and I'm going to find the justification I like. Obviously, we have that version of ourselves. But, Justin, there is a desire to consume the best, to be the best, to find a way to get the best. And that does come into conflict. It's going to come into conflict with an artificial world that you're creating for yourself that's telling you it's the best of all possible worlds. We're not all Voltaire, if you want to get into the literary references here.
I just want to remind Jason, actually, of one of the most important statistics in the United States, which was that Michigan beat Michigan State 24-17 last time the two teams met. But beyond that,
My college didn't have a football team, so this is going right over my head. Go on.
It's a game played by big buffy men, predominantly in the United States, and we in the Midwest love it.
All right,
Call me anytime. But the point is, that is the truth. Something happened, and there's a record of it, and it was part of the human record. And like, Jason may not like it, and I might rejoice in telling that 24 minus 17 is a 7-point win. But when it comes to even bigger stakes, who has a job? What businesses stay afloat? Are we able to engage fully with the rest of the world? These are important grounding truths. And look, the way I want to put it is there is no one on earth who can say there is a single upside from any American in hiding truths that we've already gone out and paid for. And that's what they're talking about doing. None of us are better off if we take our statistics and add noise and bias and make it harder to see our world.
Well, there's an upside for a couple Americans: Donald Trump, J.D. Vance,
the AI
Howard
industry,
Lutnick,
crypto,
right? Like, it's right. Yeah.
So is that what it is? It's a handful of people that are just deciding for all of us. How successful? How long can that be successful?
I mean, I think this 5 to 10 year run, if you look at the AI industry, if you look at crypto, this is it. And it's kind of what I would call, some death of Stalin Soviet type behavior, where everyone knows, like, hey, Trump's got a limited amount of time here, and then it's time for either JD in 2028 or someone else. And like, this window right here is when you can consolidate all that power. I think that's what you see in Texas. That's what you see in all the things they've tried and failed to do, like the 10-year ban on state-level regulation of AI.
Yeah, but hold on. If you're going to take BLS data to make a more concrete point, if you're going to say jobs numbers, we're just not going to release them, or you're going to change or corrupt the inflation data, that will come into conflict with what people are experiencing, Justin.
More than that, it will come in conflict with what they get. Remember that, if Trump's tariffs cause inflation, and there's already signs that they are, that's going to undermine the purchasing power of seniors. Now, fortunately, our Social Security system says we index, which is to say adjust Social Security to take account of inflation. Now, what happens if he imposes those tariffs, they raise the cost of living, and he instructs the head of the BLS, because it's very uncomfortable to admit that inflation was high, instead to construct some other measure which gives us lower inflation? What that does is constructs a new economic reality in which seniors won't get the cost of living adjustments that they need. Mm-hmm. The thing is, these statistics are embedded in our society in ways that many of us do not immediately imagine, but we're all served by them being accurate. And they do things like adjust the cost of living. We have trillions of dollars in bonds that are tied to them, and so on.
Well, I congratulate us for, at the very least, not referencing Foucault at all in this conversation. But there's always tomorrow. Everybody, thank you so much for joining me today.